Hello, and welcome to the video that will introduce you to the four worlds of history, which is a framework that I use for the rest of this government class. Now, if you're watching this video, that means you missed the first day of class and you are already behind. So I'm going to do the best I can to explain this to you in a video, although you still might need some help with it because this really wasn't a lesson that was meant to be taught in a video. That said, you have to be taught it somehow, and my substitute is not able to do that as well as I am because my substitute did not write the lesson. So with that said, let's get started. The idea behind the four worlds of history is that you can pick any person, place, or thing, anything at all. And if you study it and you think about it and you analyze it, it can be proven to have some kind of impact on the four worlds you see on the screen. The political world, the economic world, the social world, and the cultural world. So what are these four worlds? Well, the political world is a world that includes the type of government that we have, the legal system we have, the military, our security. Anything in those categories is considered to be having an impact on the political world. For the economic world, it's people's quest for prosperity, success, a comfortable lifestyle, means of production, types of labor and work, goods and services. Any impact on anything related to those things is an impact that thing, that person, place, or thing is having on the economic world. The cultural world is our quest for meaning, things that impact our daily life, our beliefs about ourselves and the world around us, the arts, the things that we create to express ourselves. All of these things, anything that affects them, affects our understanding of the cultural world. And finally is the social world. This is how people are organized. Civil society, trying to make things as fair and or equal as possible. These are things that impact the way that we interact with each other. So let's give an example. Let's do the four worlds of Barbie. So how might Barbie impact the world around her? Well, Barbie is a good, and a good needs to be regulated. There's a couple of different reasons why. One is she's a brand. People cannot use a brand unless they've gotten permission for it. And the reason why is because there is copyright law protecting the Barbie brand. Also, because she is a good that is sold to people, the law now has to catch up and pass laws to make sure people are safe from Barbie. Make sure that if there are choking hazards, there are warnings. Barbie also has an impact on the economic world. How does she have an impact on the economic world? Well, she's a job creator. As Barbie sells well, more jobs are created to make more Barbies. She's also a good that is sold and bought. So people make decisions to use their money on Barbie or to not use their money on Barbie. Her existence causes those decisions to be made, just as her existence causes the political world to make laws having to do with her that would not exist if Barbie did not exist. So that's an idea. So that's what I mean by Barbie here in the middle has an impact on these two worlds. She also has an impact on the cultural world. Culturally, Barbie is often the first time that Barbie can be seen as sort of a role model, a image of beauty. Now, this may not be a good image of beauty. Not all of these impacts have to be positive. Sometimes the thing in the middle is having a negative impact. Sometimes people might disagree on whether that impact is positive or negative, but she does set a standard of beauty. Also, Barbie is often young girls' first experience or one of her earliest experiences with imaginative play. That affects her development. That affects the way she interacts with things, uses her mind to visualize things that aren't there, or visualize the future, or visualize roles and situations. And finally, Barbie has an impact on the social world because there are many people who maybe feel she's not a very good role model. And so they might form groups to talk about, hey, let's make a difference. Let's change this. Barbie is also something that many girls play with. And as they grow up, it's something that they have in common with each other and they can discuss. So because Barbie exists, there are groups of people that have things in common and possibly even organize that wouldn't normally if Barbie hadn't existed in the first place. Even if it's a group that's formed to act out against her, to speak against her. Still, if Barbie didn't exist, that group wouldn't exist. And therefore, Barbie's impacting the social world in that way. So let's do another example. Let's do me. All right, so what you missed on the first day was not only this live explanation, but also the chance to get started on creating the 4 worlds of history about you. That is going to be your project for the next couple class periods, is creating the 4 worlds of you, analyzing the impact that you have, your existence has on the 4 worlds. Let's do some examples. The political world. I have an impact on the political world because I pay taxes. Because I pay taxes, that money funds the political world, funds the government to be able to do what it does, like keep me secure, keep police officers employed, make sure there's enough of them, keep hospitals running, keep education systems running. So my money has a small impact on the political world. Also, because I read news, because I follow up on what's going on in the political world, that affects the way I vote. And the way I vote affects the political world. Even if it's a small way, it's not a major impact. It's a very small impact, but it is having some effect. Okay, so my impact on the economic world is that I teach history to make money, to provide for my family. So I'm making many purchasing decisions that will influence my family and their ability to survive. That's my means of production, my type of labor. Another thing I do that impacts the economic world around me is I make the effort to expose students to as wide a variety of technology as possible, because I know how important technology is going to be to students' future careers. So I try to expose them to as much as possible. Now, not everything I show students how to do is something they're always going to use for the rest of their lives, but it might be. Some things I show one person will benefit from, some things I introduce only someone else will benefit, but not another person. But it does have some impact, maybe not a lot, but every single person who discovers something that they can use in their career because of me, I'm impacting that person's role in our economy, and therefore I'm having an impact on the economic world. So things you do for others has an impact in many different ways. Okay, so the cultural world, one thing I do that affects my understanding of daily life, my beliefs, meaning, and what's the meaning of life is I read the Bible. And reading the Bible, which is focused on how you should be living your life, what's the right things to do, what's wrong things to do, that will influence how I see beliefs or how I live my daily life. Similarly, I listen to punk rock music. Now, you wouldn't want to just say, I listen to music. That's too vague. What kind of music are you listening to that has an influence on you? Well, punk rock has an influence on me because the punk rock I listen to is focused on identifying problems in society and getting involved, getting engaged, taking action to try to address those problems, not just sitting passively and watching them happen. And finally, I have an impact on the social world because, well, I read the Bible and that makes me want to go to church. And when I go to church, even though my church is small, there are other people there. And because I'm interacting with them, I'm having an impact on the social world. Church may not be hugely different without me, but if I wasn't there, there would be one less influence there. So whether my influence is good or bad, and no matter how big or small it may be, because I'm interacting with people for this very specific group, I'm having an impact on the social world. Another way that I have an impact on the social world is by going to punk rock shows. Yes, I'm still listening to music, kind of like I did over here, but here I was in the cultural world. I was listening to punk rock music just by myself, like with my earbuds in. But in the social world, going to a show, well, now I'm going to a community event. I'm interacting with others. I'm talking about the music. We are gathering together for the shared purpose of enjoying this music. It's a completely different experience. So now I'm having an influence and impact on those people that would not exist if I wasn't there. Not that the show wouldn't exist, but my presence there. No matter how small the influence may be, the fact that I'm participating means I'm having an impact socially and not just culturally by buying the music and listening to it at home. So you're going to do this on your own using a rough draft first and then using the rough draft checked by the teacher to build your own project. But there's one last instruction that you need to be aware of, and that is you need to draw connections. Connections are these lines you see. Now, they don't have to go in this direction. They can go in any direction. They can even go diagonally. But what these connections do is show that as you impact one thing, that one thing then has its own effect on one of the other worlds. Let's go back to my example and see what I mean by that. So as I listen to punk rock, that makes me want to go to the show in the first place. So going to the show has an impact on the social world, but one of the reasons why I went to the show to begin with is because I listened to punk rock. So I'm going to draw a line from the listening to punk rock music to going to the punk rock show, and writing on that line, listening to punk rock music makes me want to go to the punk rock show. So this has an arrow drawing in this direction because this item is impacting this item. Let's look at another example. I listen to punk rock music, which gives me all kinds of influences that make me want to get involved with politics and make a difference. Well, that is going to have an effect on the way I read the news, on the way I interpret the news and analyze the information, interpret that information, which affects my voting. Also, that music, because it gives me a certain perspective on how we should interact with the government, well, that's going to influence the way I teach. And reading the news all by itself gives me more information to help students when they have questions and give them better examples. So that influences my economic impact of being a teacher. So all these lines here are examples of how as you do one thing or as you have one impact, that action can impact another world on its own. Those are connections. You need to have at least one of them on your rough draft and in your final project. Finally, there are a few tiles on Symbloo that you can go to get ideas. This one, if you'd like to look at this graphic, you click on this tile right here called 4 Worlds of History Connection. This is another useful one. You can ignore geography and technology for right now, but here's the 4 worlds, and these are all ideas of things that can help you come up with ways that you influence those 4 worlds. For example, like, do you have an impact on products and trade, goods and services, bought, sold, made? If you do, great, use that as an idea. If you don't, then go the next thing on the list. Go through all of these things, find as many ideas as you can of the impacts you have. I don't want to see just one thing per square. I want to see as many as possible. The more effort, the better your grade. The less effort, the worse your grade. If the effort's really weak, I'm going to make you redo it. Finally, this is a helper that's really only helpful on this project. The other two will help you on future units. This one will really only help you on this one, but it is useful. Now, these are not meant to be copy and pasted, okay? If you just copy and paste this, if you just copy it straight word for word and just leave it like that, that's not good. These are sentence starters. You need to explain how you're having an impact in that way on that world. So I must pay taxes and obey laws. Okay, like, what taxes do you pay? What laws are you choosing to obey that allows you to have an impact on the political world? So don't just copy these down and go, oh, well, I just copied it from the screen. No, these are sentence starters. These are ideas. You need to be as specific as possible. If you're too vague, I'm going to make you redo it. And that's it. If you have any more questions, ask the substitute or ask me. Thanks and good luck.